The CZ70, let's check it out. Today we're going to take a look at the CZ70. This is a military surplus firearm. It's in 32 ACP. It's all steel frame. But one of the things about military surplus or even police trade-ins is they come in a big lot and the prices are right. Once that dries up, the prices go up. And we've seen quite a few coming in from Eastern Europe, and they're really good quality. Plus it's a CZ. And CZ is known for a lot of different models. We have done some reviews on the CZ line, and we're going to do a big comparison video with a lot of different models. But today we're going to focus on the CZ70. This is a great little shooter. Now, AIM Surplus sent the CZ70 for this review, and we really appreciate their help. All right guys, the CZ70 or VZOR 70, and that stands for their Czech military. These were made in 1970 to 1983. One thing about CZ is they have a long line of different models that have come through, and we're going to do a video about those different models because we have most of them. I'm a big fan of CZ. Of course, the CZ75 is really the pinnacle, especially when you get into the Shadow 2s. And while 32 ACP was not a Soviet bloc caliber, these were mainly used for police, civilians, and also for officers that wanted to carry a 32 ACP. Let's go ahead and check to make sure the gun's unloaded. First off, our magazine release is up here, up high next to the slide. It's close to the grip, and it's a little bit of a chore just to get to it, and you got to get it and press it. And then we're going to pull out our magazine. We have an 8-round magazine. Now this will fit 9 rounds. In fact, we were shooting it at the range with 9 rounds every time. The problem is when you load it in with 9 rounds, sometimes it doesn't want to go all the way up. And so that was just an issue. And honestly, I wasn't even thinking about it. I was thinking, well, it fits 9 rounds, it's 9 rounds. But carrying 8 rounds in this is going to be important if you're carrying this because you want that magazine to go in solid. Let's go ahead and check the chamber. And the gun's empty. Now, one thing about this safety is pretty interesting actually. You have your fire, but your fire is in the far up position. And so as we bring it down, that puts it on safe. That's the opposite of most modern frame safety designs. But then if you bring it on down, it has a decocker. So this is a double single action pistol, and you can fire it this way, but you've got to put it back on fire and then you can pull the trigger. Also, which is kind of neat, is if you have the hammer back and you put it on safe, you can actually carry this cocked and locked. I'm not sure about any kind of firing pin safety, which this could be deemed as not drop safe. So you need to be careful, but you can go ahead and decock it and then you'll have that full double action, which is really heavy. And we'll test out the trigger pull weight. But these guns, especially coming in, these military firearms, to reproduce would cost a lot of money. The machining, the parts, and all the hand fitting that goes into these. So while these are coming in at a fairly reasonable price, when they come in a group, once the supply dries up, these start to rise in value. But the big thing for me is I just love surplus firearms. Even police trade-ins. There's just something about it that they've been carried and they just have a lot of history behind them. The bluing is really nice. This is a particular model that had a lot of nice bluing on it. The grips have some scuffs, but no big deal. When you're buying surplus firearms though, you don't know what you're going to get. But most of these are in really good working condition. They're known to be reliable, and this one was extremely reliable. We didn't have any issues except that we had those 9 rounds and we were having trouble getting the magazine in sometimes. But the grip is a synthetic plastic type grip, and it has this little notch right here. On the CZ50, it was more of a straight shot, and this was actually an upgrade. Now it does come up here at the back, so it gives you kind of a beaver tail right here, and that'll keep you from getting the slide bite or hammer bite. If you have really big hands, you'll need to check that out. But with the commander style hammer and this part right here that drops your hand down, it's going to be a little safer to shoot. Now for me, I have medium-sized hands, so it's not a big deal. Low bore axis, I love it. I mean, it shoots really well. Now in 32 ACP, it is a very mild round. In fact, it's about half the felt recoil of your 380 ACP. And this is a blowback design, so that typically gives a little more recoil to it. But we found that this was an extreme pleasure to shoot. Now we're going to talk about carrying 32 ACP and if you should or shouldn't, and some other facts about 32 that maybe will help you decide. But regardless, this is just a great gun to take to the range, to have, to collect, and to shoot. We have slide serrations here at the back, really easy to bring back. With the 32, it's going to be a little less on the recoil spring. Some checkering type pattern that's here on the top strap, and this is just going to keep glare down, but it's a really nice touch. The sights are very minimal. They're combat sights and has just a little notch and a little post. Some people will take and put just a dab of paint right there just to be able to see that front sight. And again, you can see how much space is between the hammer and the web of my hand, and really the slide comes even past where the hammer drops down. So this is going to be a much better gun to shoot than the CZ50, which definitely had that straight shot and it got your hand up even higher. We have a curved trigger guard, we have smooth front strap, we have checkering that's on the grip, and we have this composite grip that's very comfortable. In fact, the gun is super thin, so it makes it really pointable. Again, guys, we really enjoyed taking this out. It has a 4-inch barrel. A fixed barrel design. Now it's blowback, but the barrel is actually attached to the frame, so this breaks down a little bit differently, but it's not very difficult. When it comes to the single action trigger pull, it's really nice. And again, we're going to be testing all that out in just a second. Now the CZ70 was inspired by the Walther PP. And you could say the PPK as well, but the PP has more of the same length and size. The PP is coming in with a 380 ACP and with 32 ACP. But one of the things that's happened lately is there's a number of different companies that are reintroducing 32 ACP, including the Beretta Tomcat or the 30X, which is a great little gun. In fact, their 80X, they've just introduced it in 32. Walther has just reintroduced the Walther PP, and this is in stainless steel. It's an incredible gun. And then also the Kel-Tec P32 and the C-Camp little 32. That's been around for a long time. So there are a number of companies that are now kind of revitalizing 32 ACP. But while you're getting a lot of the same feel and action between the Walther and the CZ, you're going to be able to get the CZ for considerably less money. The Walther just carries a premium. And a lot of these were used during World War II. So the Walther PP and PPK design has been around for a long time. I believe it was in the 1930s. And so this wasn't produced until the 1970s. And yet, the Walther PP still holds a lot of sway over this type firearm for the military. But these were replaced by the CZ82. Now this is in 9mm Makarov. It's a double stack magazine. We're getting ready to do a review on this, and this is just a great gun. It's really a pivotal gun for CZ. But again, we're going to get into more details later. Now double action trigger pull. We have just a little bit of take up. It hits a wall, but it is heavy. And there we have the break. If it's on single action, we come all the way to the back, and it's a nice break. It's definitely crisp. It's not a competition trigger, but it's not bad. And then for reset, right there, and the reset's really fast. But here you can see that magazine release. And guys, it is a little difficult to get to. Right, we're going to check the trigger pull weight with our Lyman trigger gauge and Brownells. This again is going to be heavy, so we'll just see if we can get a reading. 11 pounds, 15.7 ounces. 11 pounds, 13.5 ounces. Single action. 6 pounds, 6.3 ounces. 6 pounds, 7.5 ounces. And honestly, it feels a little bit lighter. It's a very smooth trigger on single action. And as far as the weight on the CZ70, 24.14 ounces. For a very small handgun, it has some heft to it, especially considering all the polymer striker fire pistols that we have out there. But that little bit of extra weight even helps mitigate the recoil even more. Now here we have 32 ACP, we have our 380 ACP, and we have 9mm. To be honest, 380 ACP has been considered kind of the minimum of effective self-defense. But there are a lot of people that do carry 32 ACP. In fact, it was carried in Europe long after the US went to more of a 380 or even a 9mm. This makes a great pocket pistol caliber. It's half the felt recoil as your 380 ACP. And yet it's more reliable than 22 long rifle. And guys, there's a lot of people that carry 22 still today, especially those that are very recoil sensitive. And so this gives you a little more of an effective round. One big thing though is to carry a full metal jacket so you can penetrate, but also about a 71 grain bullet, and that's toward the heavy side. And so if you do that and then shot placement, because it's such a light recoiling firearm, you have a little more control over it. But some of the downsides is that it's more expensive typically than 380 or 9mm, and it's typically less available. If you go into your gun shop, 32 ACP may or may not be on the shelf. But it allows for a much smaller handgun that's more compact, so that is another benefit for 32. Am I recommending 32? If you're carrying a 22, I recommend going up to 32. But your 380 and your 9mm are going to be definitely better self-defense options going up the line. Now with a lot of military pistols, they had a magazine disconnect, and that means that if you brought out your magazine that it wouldn't fire. But that's not a problem with the CZ. I love that. Now it also doesn't have a slide stop or slide release. So if I have my magazine in, and it does hold back on the last round, then the only way I can drop the slide is to release the magazine. And so that's just one of those things, especially with some of these older designs. Guys, a big thank you to Fiocchi for sponsoring our ammo, all made in the USA, one of the biggest suppliers of ammunition in the country. And I got started with Fiocchi when they had unusual calibers, or calibers you just didn't see around. Fiocchi was making them, a lot of military calibers. And so typically with Fiocchi, you can find all kind of different ammunition for your surplus guns. All right guys, CZ70, these are fun to shoot. In 32 ACP, really low recoil, and yet it has that Walther blowback design to it. It's very similar to your Walther PP. I like this little hump. It allows you to get your hand in a little bit lower than some of the earlier models. And this is just a line of a lot of pistols that CZ produced. All steel frame. So soft to shoot, and two, with it being metal, it just makes it a little bit of heft to it. It keeps that muzzle just down. And even with the blowback action, which typically gives you a little more recoil, it's just a really fun gun to shoot. Now one thing that's kind of backwards is the safety. So you bring the safety down for safe and up for fire. And that's definitely different than the 1911 or a lot of others, but it's just one of those things you have to get used to. What I'm really glad is they don't have the hill type mag release. The mag release though is really small, and it's a little bit difficult to get to. As far as getting the magazine to come out, you have to kind of bend your hand around. We have had no malfunctions with this gun, and again, this came from AIM Surplus, which these surplus firearms, guys, when they first come into the country, the prices are higher than they used to be, but it's still a lot lower than the actual value of the gun. That is just fun to shoot.
you think?
I like it. I like how heavy it is because it keeps it all. I mean, the caliber's really light anyway, but also with the heaviness, it just keeps it all really nice and smooth and even. I mean, just from what I was seeing, I was pretty much just on target the whole time. So I really like that. Mild. Yeah, it's really nice. And the weight really helps with that.
Now, as far as disassembly, we're going to drop our magazine, check the chamber again. What we're going to do is bring back the slide, and right here is your takedown button, and it has serrations on it. So as we bring it back, we're going to engage that button and then lift up and then let it go forward. Really simple to do, actually. And then we have our recoil spring that's over our barrel. Now, this is, again, a fixed barrel, and so that typically lends to good accuracy. I know, especially with the Walthers. And it is a blowback. And we can see it has a nice, generous feed ramp that comes up from the back. But these have been very well machined. This one really needs some cleaning. Most of the time, I take them straight out of the box and just shoot them. But really, that's all that needs to be done to field strip. Now, with the Walther, you pull down on the trigger guard, and then you do the same thing. But I really like this system better. Now, one thing about your recoil spring is it has a little bit more flare on one side and less on the other. The less actually fits right next to the chamber. So I'm going to put it in so it fits just right there. And then I'm going to bring my slide over and bring it all the way back and hold down on this button while you're bringing it back, and then just drop it and it'll go in. Just make sure that you press this button as you're bringing it down, and that way you won't have any issues. And then we're going to throw in our magazine and we're going to test for function, and we're back in business. Very simple, and I love that. Now, keeping your firearms maintained and cleaned is vital. Otis makes some of the best cleaning equipment out there. They make a number of different kits that are dedicated for different rifles, pistols. They also have Shooter's Choice, which makes excellent CLP and bore solvent and different cleaning materials. The Ripcord is one of their signatures, and there's a whole system based around it. They are suppliers to the U.S. military. So check out Otis Technologies, highly recommended, and we want to thank Otis for being a sponsor of the channel. Now, as far as price, these are running $299 at Aim Surplus. Another big bonus is that this is in the Curio and Relics category. So you can pick these up if you have that kind of license, and you can get them that way. Again, the magazines are going to be a little more expensive, and around $50. I think Triple K makes some. I haven't tested those out, but they typically make pretty decent magazines, and that'll be for a lower price. And if you need spring kits, a lot of times Wolf Springs has a lot of different kits for a lot of these surplus type firearms. Now let's talk about some pros and cons. I think first off, this is a military surplus firearm. It has a lot of history behind it. It did serve in a number of wars. It was carried by a number of different countries. And so it does have that history to it, that nostalgia. It has the old world craftsmanship. It is CZ, so that's a big deal too, because they make really good quality firearms. As far as a self-defense option, it's low on the totem pole, but you can use it for self-defense. It's better than .22 long rifle, but .380 and 9mm are going to give you better ballistics. .32 though, also again, there's a number of companies that have come out with that. Now most of the guys that are buying this, if they do carry it, they're just carrying it because it's kind of cool for a while. And I understand that, but most people that are going to be purchasing these are collectors, and when you buy them, right here at the surplus level, they go up in price when this dries up, and we've talked about that, but we're not seeing as much surplus coming in, so prices are a little higher than they used to be, but you're typically still doing very well. But honestly, it's just great to take out and shoot, and it's just a different experience. There are so many polymer frame striker fire type pistols out there that this just gives you another world that just opens up. And also, as far as the parts, this has the same compatibility with your CZ50. And while those were not quite as prolific as the Model 70, they are completely parts interchangeable. And there's typically parts out on the market. But it's a very simple design, so breakages are typically rare. A con would be this magazine release. I am not a fan. It's way up high. It's not easy to get to. I mean, you actually have to pull it to the side to hit that, and then you can get it. Also, don't put 9 rounds in your magazine unless you're just messing around at the range, but expect for the magazine not to seat all the way when you do. And so that was one thing, again, that's minor, but it is what it is. Sights are super low, and a little bit of paint would make that a lot nicer, but this is a combat firearm, and it's really point and shoot. So overall, it's a great little gun, has low recoil, it's a lot of fun to take to the range. 32 ACP, while it's not super common everywhere, it's much better than a lot of the Eastern European calibers that are a little bit more difficult to get. So overall, a lot of fun to shoot, a lot of history, and right now while they're coming into the country, it's the best time to pick one up. Guys, a great little military surplus firearm, very soft to shoot, fairly ergonomic and very thin. And again, based on the Walther PP design for a lot less money. Guys, again, when surplus firearms come into the country, the prices are right because they come in quantity. But once that dries up, the price will go up. And plus, it's just great to have a piece of history just to take out to the range and enjoy. And again, a big thank you to AIM Surplus for sending the CZ70 for this review. Be strong, be of good courage. God bless America. Long live the Republic.
I just realized we're getting ready to do a range report. Might want to just go ahead and...
Is making a number, was making, can make, sort of make, gonna make.
Okay.
Does that sound good? Look good?
Yep.
Now for reassembly, we're gonna bring our slide and put it back over our barrel. Do we do it that way or this way? Carry it this way, and then that first round will be double action, which you've got to bring the safety up. Okay, the CZ70, let's check it out. Okay, let's check it out. It's got the single stack magazine. Again, 8 rounds. Did I even do I don't think I did the safety check. I don't think I did that. No, I did. They really expanded CZ's line. Yeah.